VR Chat, the next frontier. These are the experiences from Gunters' universe. His continuing mission? To seek out and connect with VR devs and passionate enthusiasts. To discuss theories, beliefs, and rhetoric of all kind. And to boldly go where no show has ever gone before.
What is up, everyone? Gunters here. Happy to see all these great people here for another show of Gunters Universe. Going to be bringing you some interesting news and talking to some cool guests from the community. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. So 4 guests around me are here to talk tonight, talk about the VR news and what's been going on. Let me go ahead and introduce them. To my left, we've got PatsyCocunut, also known as Nick. He's with the PureVR team and host of the VR podcast, Is This Real Life? How are you doing, Nick?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I really appreciate you inviting me on the show.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming out. It's great to bring some great guests on the show. We also have another great guest, Bob, a.k.a. Coznefx. How's it going, Bob? Bobby.
Bob's taking a nap.
Yeah, I don't blame him. It took us a while to get things started here. Bob's looking around. Bob, press D for voice.
Bobby?
We're going to come back to Bob. These are early days in VR chat here and of me doing the show. It's
Sorry,
episode 2.
I had to pop up. I am here and fabulous, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you. And keep going around the circle. We have Brandon. He's also part of the PureVR team and host of Is This Real Life? How are you guys doing? Or how are you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, for sure. And I pulled somebody out of the audience tonight, and it turned out to be VRBose. He's a writer for Road to VR. How are you doing?
Hey, it's doing great. I was really glad that you sort of said, hey, get up here, because I'm ready to talk. I'm ready to be a part of the group.
Excellent. And so earlier I actually said, hey, can you lower your voice because you had this super bassy, awesome mic there, and now it's a little bit low. So if you want to kick that up a bit, that'll help with the conversation tonight.
Yep, I'll do it.
So while that's kicking around, let me cover some of the news here this week. I'm sure you guys have heard a bit about the game jam that the Oculus has been putting on. So that is running from April 13th, just started, I guess that's a day ago or so, and runs till May 11th. And it's pretty rad. There's $1 million in prizes available. And the people putting in their submissions and that are working towards their game here, it's a mobile game jam. There's a few milestones that they need to reach. So the first milestone is actually due 4/20 at 9 a.m. It's the pitch that they gotta basically submit. Then after that, there's a couple more milestones. They gotta submit screenshots due the week after. That's 4/27, April 27th, and they also have to submit their video by May 4th. And then the final build is due May 11th, and I'm not sure when we're going to be able to try those builds, hopefully soon after that, but I'm definitely looking forward to checking those out.
I'm actually really excited. I'm really glad that they're doing this, because we know that content is king, obviously. So to have this push behind mobile apps inside VR so early from Oculus is fantastic. I'm really excited to see what comes out of it, because competition only breeds the best. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we saw some great stuff come out of last jam.
Yeah, I think there's over 1,000 people that have, or up around like 1,100 people that have entered so far. I'm assuming there's a whole bunch of those people that are on teams, so there'll probably be a lot less actual submissions. But there's going to be a whole lot of content, and it's going to be just in time for the S6 Gear VR release.
I honestly expected there to be more with the amount of prizes that are out there. That's a lot of money.
It is a really huge amount of money, but I have a question. Where did Gunter go?
It's my show now. You're on the
Wait,
VRBose
what?
show.
Gunter, no! Hold up, I'll fix this.
No, Rob. No.
So when is exactly the release of the S6 gear?
I'm not exactly sure. I think it's like a month or two after S6 comes out.
Okay.
So we got like a month to wait, I guess now. Because I just got the S6. I love the phone. It's not perfect, but it's fantastic. But that's the reason I bought it in the first place. I mean, Brandon over here, he's got a Note 4. Obviously, we don't have the Gear VR yet. I'm really looking forward to that. I had the chance to try it in Toronto a little while ago, and I was blown away when I first had to go on it.
Yeah, I might be able to pick one up when we're in the States for SBVR. That'd be pretty cool.
I think what's
Absolutely.
important to note with the new Gear VR that's coming out
Yeah,
is
Crash.
that John
Hey,
Carmack
Gunter.
said, oh, it's Gunter, he's back.
I gotta go click
Gunter's
something.
back. Gunter, where are you going?
I gotta do
Gunter?
something.
He's
I
on a
gotta.
quest.
Sponge?
You got to pee.
It's okay, Sponge.
There we go. I'm ready. Bladder is empty. There's no way in hell we're restarting anything. We were talking about the game jam, how content is
I thought you
king.
told us all use the restroom before we
What I
started.
missed.
We
No,
start
we're
getting
just
to the Gear
talking
VR
about
for the S6.
Gear
Yeah. So that's something that I was contemplating. I've been wanting to get. I want to get the gear, of course, and thinking about the Note 4. Do I get that? And then the S6 came out, and so was curious if I should jump on that. But then you got the Note 5 coming out in like September, October. It's sort of killing me. Are any of you in that pickle? Who has a gear?
What I
I'm
was
gonna
saying before
be-
you came back was that essentially, it doesn't really matter what you're going to pick and choose because we're all playing in the same ecosystem here. What John Carmack said back at GDC, his keynote talk was that we're not really dealing with any significant changes besides a few hardware tweaks. So I think it is time, if you have a Note 4, you might as well grab a Gear VR number 1.
Yeah, I'm fairly set on getting a Gear VR for my Note 4, but I know that I'm going to get the Note 5 as well and just sell my Note 4, or maybe keep it, just have an extra toy. It's expensive though.
Well, it's kind of like what we had Carl Krantz on our podcast a few weeks ago, and he was talking about his experience with his Gear VR and his Note, was that every time he gave somebody the chance to experience it, is that the first thing you want to do is go on your phone and check your messages, etc. And you can't because the phone is on the person's face. So maybe, get anything, but just get an extra phone that you can have specifically for VR, if we can afford that. It is expensive, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. It's very expensive. That was kind of my concern was, I guess sell the Note 4 maybe and get the Note 5, but I imagine it, right at that moment it depreciates a lot. And there's stuff about, the Note 5, like it has a 4K screen. Who the hell doesn't want that? And apparently the battery might not heat up as much. Those are pretty attractive things for me.
I can't imagine a mobile phone running a 4K screen. That seems ridiculous, the amount of power that's going to require.
That's a good point.
Well,
Guess you
the
switch out
thing-
batteries more often.
If
Yeah,
you
well, if
can
they let
even
you
switch out
switch out
batteries.
Yeah, the S6, they took out that feature. It's a very powerful
Yeah.
phone, but there's a lot of stuff taken out.
Yeah, I guess we don't know the situation with the Note 5. I guess I'm just assuming like you can with the Note 4.
I wouldn't be surprised if they go with the same route that they did with the S6, is like you can't remove the battery. I would not be surprised because they're really pushing for this fact that they have optimized their systems to really conserve energy. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think VR right now is on like one of the last things they're developing for these new phones.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
the
that's
thing
kind of a
about-
deal breaker, not being able to switch out the battery when you're doing VR stuff. That consumes a lot of battery.
Well, I know that
Well,
the S6 will be able to charge while you use it.
Right, you can have like a mobile battery pack in your pocket and just plug it in.
So it's not really a big deal.
Right.
Okay.
They might go that route with the Note 5 because if you look at what they did with the S6, the reason why that they took out the removable battery is to make it thinner. And so I could definitely see them doing the same thing for the Note 5, just making the battery not removable to make the phone thinner.
Well, another big problem is there's no expandable storage. So if you're getting all these experiences for VR on there, you're going to need that extra space that you can't have.
Well,
You have to pay a premium for. I mean, what is the S6? The 128 gigabyte costs something around $950. It's astronomical.
Yeah.
I think this might be more or less the same conversation we've been having about cell phones for a long time. But one thing that I think that people should really remark is how come we're not getting the upgraded IMUs? You know what I mean? Like if we could go ahead and get an IMU that's targeted towards VR, then we could all say, okay, that phone is for VR. This is not an afterthought.
That's true. I think that'll come with time. I mean, it's just a matter of having that base of users who would want to buy that, because that's obviously right now is not a big feature at all. The masses just want a phone that works, and I think taking great pictures is the biggest thing that people want.
Post them on
I think it'll come.
Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, Facebook. Just social apps and stuff like that. It'll come with time, though.
All right, cool. What else is going on in the news? I read that Vive has a release date set for December. Has anybody heard that?
I have heard that.
It's pretty cool.
Anybody
Really
excited
exciting.
for that?
So, like, this is what I'm thinking. Like, what's going to happen with Oculus? Are they going to push for that? Because I've heard rumors of a November release date for Oculus CV1.
You've heard rumors of that? Wow, I haven't heard that.
I heard
I think it's complete bullshit.
Yeah, I do too. I don't know.
I read
They haven't announced
somewhere-
anything either. You'd think that, well, I mean, they could be holding their cards close, and after the Vive announcement, I'd imagine that, they're working hard to strategize around that, but still releasing, is it really a release game? Is that really what is up? I mean, I guess maybe a bit, but couldn't they release next year and still, if they brought out a better product, it wouldn't matter?
I heard that.
We can always go back to the argument about, VHS versus beta, right? The superior product can be beat out by a crappier one if the other one is released sooner. However,
Good point.
we know that the Vive is obviously a superior product to what we've seen from Oculus already. They haven't publicly displayed something that was better, or not even really that close to what the Vive is doing with the Lighthouse technology. So, in any case, it could go either way. However, I think it'd be wise for them to at least release close to what Valve is doing in HTC with the Vive.
Who knows? Maybe
I
they'll
read-
release right after just so they can take advantage of the Lighthouse.
I read that if they weren't going to release it before September, they weren't doing it till 2016.
Yeah, that's what I would expect that, and that's what I hear and would think is reality.
So VRBose, sorry.
On another thing, and yeah, VRBose, I don't know if you had something to chime in about that. If you've heard any secret
that's been
news.
what's been said from the very beginning. I think one of their initial releases was they said holiday 2015, sort of an indefinite date. But no, I agree with you guys completely on that one.
So I really actually wanted to then pose the question, because we've heard about is Oculus gonna be able to release this year, next year, but I'm still a little skeptical that Valve and HTC will be able to actually release when they say they will. We're kind of just taking them on their word that, oh, you guys have set a date, and that just means for sure it's going to happen.
I think when we're dealing with HTC, we're definitely dealing with a different entity. A lot of people are thinking, Valve, Half-Life 3, when are we ever going to get that? But HTC is very much ready with their development cycles. So if they're willing to tack on and say, yes, it's going to come holiday 2015, I'm inclined to believe them.
Absolutely. They have the horsepower to do that. I mean, they're a reliable company that has been producing mobile products for quite a while. They have the factories. They've got the money behind this to make this happen. So I agree. I think that's going to definitely, it's valid.
And we know Valve can take care of the software part. They've been doing that forever.
I mean, absolutely, because what we're dealing with is the difference between a distribution platform and an actual supply chain. HTC has to deal with supply chains. They need to know exactly what time things arrive and how and when. Whereas Valve may have a little more leeway, which is why they act the way they do.
And VRBose, you want to kick your mic up just a little bit more?
I can just
Sorry.
yell. Let me just yell.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. That's a great idea. Someone's got to come in. Why the hell is this guy shouting so much? He seems really, really hyped about VR.
Yeah. Do VR, try VR. You must assimilate.
Chad, dude.
All right, what else is going on in the news? I don't know. Have you guys heard about this little game called GTA 5?
What?
Oh,
What's it called?
It's called
Grand
GTA
Theft
5,
Auto
and
5
it's coming
for
to the
PC?
PC.
Grand Theft Auto. Oh, I don't know. I haven't tried that one yet.
Oh, it's really good.
This iteration. Well, I'd say there's more iterations than that, but yeah. Anybody pick that up?
It is downloading as I speak.
I got
Oh, lucky you.
GTA 5. I downloaded it.
If I wasn't broke ass, it'd be on my computer. I wouldn't be here because I'd be busy playing it, to be honest.
I mean, you
It might
can't
have
afford
been
it with
that.
all the
Because every
money
time I go
paid you to
visit,
come on the show.
yeah, right. Every time I go to Brandon's place, that's what I do. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna play GTA 5 on his Xbox One every time. He knows it.
Yeah.
Definitely get some good clips out of that.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun. No, but I'm really excited. I'm glad that Vorpex is going to be supporting that. However, I noticed they're having problems with authentication, obviously with DLC, when you're injecting it into Vorpex. So that's an issue that's been happening.
Yeah, it's a shame
Yeah, I mean,
the
that-
game is like mainly online for things like that. It's not going to be as easy to mod as 4 was.
For now, yeah, at least. But I'm really excited for games like that, especially the third-person aspect is what I'm really excited for. Obviously, first-person's really fun in VR, like right now. But I've found so much fun out of third-person VR games, so I hope there's support for that in GTA 5.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, that it might be, I don't know, there's a lot of weirdness in the first-person situation. It's not just like a first-person shooter we're used to, a Counter-Strike, a Team Fortress, or whatever. There's a lot of head bobbing or the body's moving as you turn directions. It kind of jukes, and when you get inside of the cars or other roll movements, it's kind of, if you were in first-person, I think that could be pretty jarring. Whereas if you're in a steady third-person cam, I think that works better.
I
They actually
do.
do have a setting in the game, though, where you can turn off, like when you, say, get hit by a car, roll over, it won't do all of that animation if you turn off that setting.
Alright, here's the problem with GTA 5 and VR. It does have a 3D setting, and I tried it, but the 3D and how the shadows and reflections are rendered, it really messes with your eyes. That is the only problem. They gotta get that fixed.
Yeah, for sure. It just the hearing of basically getting it set up last night, which was sort of a nightmare for me, and I'll talk about that in a second. And then today, hearing that Vorpix has already got some sort of means to get your face in there, that's pretty impressive. And of course, I'm not a big fan of the Vorpix stuff, but also haven't tried it in a while. So it's all exciting because GTA is just such a great world to put our faces in, and just to walk around is something that I'm really keen on doing.
That's the main reason I love that game is they really nailed it. Number 5 is absolutely stunning. The view distance is phenomenal. Like you can go to the top of the mountain and you can see the whole city in the fog in the distance. It's stunning. And I'm sure in VR
Yeah.
it's even more so.
Especially if we can get it where these VR mods work online and get in there together.
Yeah, and have
Yeah,
a chat or a podcast from inside GTA. That'd be a lot of fun.
It would definitely get crashed. Someone would come with a bazooka and kill all of it.
yeah.
Maybe the Rob Man could make a special guest and come
For
in
sure.
and just bang
Remember my
boom.
name?
I had my first experience with
Hello?
GTA 5 online, and using the phone to mess or to bring up one of your friends. It brings up the voice comm. So I was with Holotape, another member of Left-Handed VR Podcast, and I was like, "Hello, is this really happening?" Where the voice chat is connecting just by calling them on the phone. That sort of blew my mind. You guys might have been used to it already, but
Did
It's
somebody
almost
say
like
my
real
name?
life where you can pick up your phone and call them.
So if you're like right next to him in game, do you have to still call him in order to be able to hear him, or Or how does that work?
There's different things you can do. If you're next to somebody, you can actually just talk to them. Certain lobbies, you can turn on your voice chat and actually talk to everybody in the lobby or just your friends, things like that. Because the chat actually does play a big factor, especially proximity, in that game where if you're robbing somebody in a store, if you yell at them, then they'll go a little faster for you.
What do you guys yell when you're yelling at them?
Oh, I say
Balls.
things to them like, you're very pretty, thanks for doing this, and they freak out. It's hilarious.
I just keep yelling balls, balls, balls over and over again.
Yeah, I scream obscenities. The thug comes out in me when I'm doing that, so it's a lot of fun.
Start talking jive.
I would start doing it now, but I would just sound pretty dumb. Yeah, we started up a Steam group. Rubik started it. So GTA V, Auto, and then Oculus, but the O is shared with Auto and Oculus. So GTA 5, Auto, Oculus. So join that on Steam, and we can all hang out and play together.
Brilliant.
Don't make me spend the money again. I bought it twice already.
Bought it. You gonna buy it a third time?
Yeah, I just bought it a second time.
It's pretty compelling, and even how it starts out and whatnot, I think was very different. I mean, not the first scene, but like it didn't seem to be exactly the same way that they started things on the PlayStation. But maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's more the online player that I'm doing.
Still started with a driving section.
Started with the driving section.
As every Grand Theft Auto does. You get in the car, drive somewhere, and then the game starts.
Well, this
Isn't there a bank robbery?
Yeah, it's a bank heist.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that part. Okay.
So that was
There's a
the
little
same,
prologue
but
to the drive.
yeah, it felt, I don't know, it felt different. It must not have been, or maybe I was just like boring on the PlayStation. I just want to go and kill cops. I don't know. But I was pretty compelled. I don't know, the 60 frames, it's quite beautiful, and really staring at all the details and watching that the cinematics, or
Okay, like how well is this one ported? Because I remember Grand Theft Auto 4, when it came out, it was impossible to run unless you had the highest end PC. Like, is it going to be viable to run in VR for most PCs?
Well, VR, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I guess with VRBose, I don't really know, but for my PC, I have a 760. It has 4 gigs of RAM on it, and with an i7 and with 8 gigs of RAM, and it runs. That's at recommended. It runs a little above the recommended, so it runs great for me. You can, of course, put your 980 on it, or put 2 980s and SLI, and jack it up even further. There's still a lot of room there, and apparently you can jack it up to 4K if you had like 2 Titans, which just sounds insane.
I feel like you're gonna need a Titan X to run this thing in VR. Like, it's a really hefty game.
You can always turn on the graphics. Like, the minimum specs for this game are pretty impressive. It's like, what, a 9800 GT?
Yeah, they do have that going for them. Is they can scale down a lot. So I think that's one of the most impressive things that I heard people talking about, was the range that the configuration to be able to bring people that don't have the greatest computer into the game, but also scale all the way up to 4K and 60 frames. I think in VR it might have to. I don't know. It's going to be tough. I wonder what it's going to be like running VRBose. I don't know. I have to stay pretty still. Maybe.
Good news, everyone.
I think what's really interesting about all of this is that we're sort of getting a preview into the future of VR FPSs. We're sort of hacking our way into it, using VRBose or, what have you. I guess you could do it on virtual desktop and get a pretty good result from it as well. But these are the sort of things that people are going to be talking about when our consumer versions come out and developers start targeting for these devices. And they're going to be saying things like, rehashing essentially the same old arguments about video games and how they create violent people and how they create violence. I think this is an opportunity for us to look at that and really objectifiably, deconstruct it before they do. That was way too much. I said way too much.
That makes a lot of sense. We're gonna have that conversation. I imagine that conversation is happening now, or has happened with GTA 5. Has always seemed to happen. It is amazing how I don't know, graphic and fucking awesome GTA is. I don't know. I don't watch the news and a lot of that anymore, but certainly there is going to be that, like in VR. It's like, it feels like a simulator. People are going to consider that a murder simulator sort of thing. And I even heard some story of like a train jumping simulator that came out somewhere, I believe out east, and there was some news about that training people on how to basically do parkour from trains or some crazy stuff, and they were concerned that it helps youngins, I imagine, build up confidence to go try that in real life. Definitely an issue.
People take video games way too seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never met anybody like that, but I don't know. All right, so what else is going on? Wanted to show a video of...
Wait, guys.
Yeah.
GameStop's going to start selling classic games and game consoles.
You are my favorite person today, my friend.
Thanks, bro.
So, Ghost in the Shell. Has anybody ever seen that show?
Haven't heard of it.
Movie. So, I love that. I imagine everybody here loves that anime. It's just classic. There is more to check out there. I imagine many folks have seen Ghost in the Shell standalone complex. That's like 10 years old, but there is a new series called Ghost in the Shell Arise. Don't really need to talk too much about it. I just wanted to bring awareness to folks that there are 6 episodes in a TV series out there, and then there's a movie coming out June 22nd. That's really exciting to me. I kind of stumbled upon it. I'm sure it's not English dubbed at that point, but I would have loved to show trailers here because it's pretty fantastic, and it's a huge inspiration, that show, on my set here. There's something called the Laughing Man chat room in one of the episodes, and it sort of looks a lot like that. Any fans?
They got
Go ahead.
I was just saying I've yet to watch it. I haven't actually gotten into that anime yet.
Say what? Well, you know what you know your homework now.
That's the plan.
That and Sword Art Online.
Movie. Yeah, I watched some of that. That isn't something I've watched all of.
I love Sword Art Online. That's the one that really got me. I think I watched the whole thing last summer, and it really blew me away.
Yeah, we have a friend here, Kirito, I believe is the main character. He's a big VR chat room builder here, and he's in the audience, was on the show last week. Loves that show, has talked to me about it. So yeah, Ghost in the Shell. Super excited for that.
Yeah, they have a couple episodes of Gets Rise on Netflix that's English dubbed.
Is it? I did not know that. You're my hero. So check it out on Netflix, which makes me think of Daredevil. I was just check that out. If you haven't seen Daredevil on Netflix, that's pretty fucking rad.
Is that the original movie? What is that?
Oh no, new series on Netflix.
Show.
Okay, good.
Series.
Okay.
Yeah.
0 Ben Affleck this time, folks. 0.
Thank God.
What about that movie that's coming out with Paul Rudd, Ant-Man? It sounds like a joke.
It does.
I think it is. I think it's supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be a
Ant-Man is
joke.
awesome.
Ant-Man is awesome.
Did you see that?
Like,
Thomas
we can
the
release
Tank-
Ant-Man actually founded the Avengers in the comics. He's quite a significant character in that universe.
Well, it looks brilliant. Like, I thought it was a joke when I first heard about it, but I watched the trailer, and it looks fantastic.
Sounds like an
You know
SNL skit.
You know what I'm excited for?
Yeah.
Jurassic World.
Yeah, me too. So, Rob, if you don't mind, basically you've been chiming in a bunch, and it's just not kind of how we do things here. It's just us guests, and afterwards we can kind of do some audience participation. But I'm always, looking for new guests to come on the show. So if you want to talk to me later about, being around here and chiming in and out.
Well, like that K-Dog was standing up and talking, so I thought I could do it.
K-Dog wasn't talking, and he's my helper on the show, and he's recording things right now. So, yeah, cool. Thank you. All right. I wanted to share an experience I had, a VR 4D experience that I had in Atlanta this last weekend. I have some mixed feelings about it. I basically got free tickets to go. So me and my wife took the 2.5-hour drive to Atlanta, and it was for the kickoff of the Insidious horror movie sort of publicity and marketing. Apparently that movie is coming out. Has anybody seen Insidious?
Oh, I would love to see the new one.
A fantastic set of movies already.
Haven't seen them yet.
I saw the first one, and I couldn't say fantastic. For me it was, I don't know, it was kind of okay, but that was just my opinion of that. But it was okay. I did sort of enjoy it. It kind of left you hanging there at the end, and the first half of the movie to me was complete boring, whatever. I also don't get scared anymore. I think if I was a religious person, I was thinking maybe I'd get scared at movies like that. But so
Yeah.
I went down to Atlanta, and it's basically this what is it, like a truck trailer that has a haunted house sort of thing in it. I wouldn't say it's a haunted house, but it has enough. It's all darked out, and it has elements that you would see that fit the Insidious universe as you go through and basically queue up to go to your Oculus Rift VR experience. And it's also combined with 4D effects like air blowing on you all of a sudden, or you have a butt booster, the audio that's basically does a lot of bass boost
Like
under your ass. Butt kicker, bass booster, yeah, butt kicker. Which I actually kind of like that. That was cool. That added something for me there. And then at one point they put a feather across my arm, and that was a little weird. So
you sure you were in the right trailer, Gunter? Are you sure?
Butt boosters and feathers? I don't know.
Exactly. I was a little concerned. And I was pitch dark. But at least it was a cute girl that was tending the station and putting her feathers on me.
Did she have candles lit too?
Exactly, yes. She whispered at me. And then I got in trouble and got kicked out. No.
For some reason. Yeah.
For some reason.
I think what's really weird about all this is that you can tell that these big corporations are targeting us. They're really looking at us and saying, this is our core usership. We want to get these people involved in our movie. Because in reality, there's not a lot of people that do VR. Not a lot of people that are going to go out and be really super interested in it.
Yeah, I was digging how this was something that people could experience, and I was standing in line for it, and there were people that drove 4 hours to come check this out, their first VR experience, from other, multiple hours to get there. And so it was cool, but unfortunately it was at this festival that I wasn't aware that it was going to be at this huge giant festival, in which it took me hours to navigate and find, and or a bunch of falafels were being thrown around and whatnot like that. And it was brutally hot, and so I thought I was going to I had my Eventbrite tickets. I thought I was going to go to a place, hand them that. I picked my time slot out from 4 to 5 p.m. There was all kinds of time slots, but that's not what happened. I was actually in a line for over an hour, and that was the short line of like 20 people, and the other line where it's free to people that I just happened to come across it at the festival was at least 50 people long. And I can't imagine, but maybe 10 to 20 of those people got in during the time that I was there at 4. And basically the whole thing broke down at some point. And so I was like, yep, VR is hard. I wonder how many rifts they have. We found out they have 3. And I was starting to get a little like, it's not so great for VR here when, it's so early, and I do like that they're trying to bring awareness, but I was just feeling for these people that had to wait, and I was basically going to die because I didn't wear, sunscreen or anything. So there's that. And then the experience was okay. It could be much better. Things that we demo that we like a lot from our scene are way better than what I saw here. The 4D stuff was to me a gimmick, but I guess people like that. But that took away from the experience. They didn't actually they didn't take the time to fit the headset to you. So that was actually a problem for the people that I were talking with afterwards. So some people had to hold it. Other people were just hurting their face. So they weren't doing it right, in my opinion, in that regard. But as far as the experience went, you started out in the red chair, and you go through the red door, and then you see the main character, the woman that, maybe not the main character, but the woman that knows everything about the demons and is able to, like the poltergeist exorciser. You probably know her name, Nick Brandon.
I don't even
Her name?
remember the name of the character, but I know who you're
The
talking
old
about.
lady. Yeah, the old lady.
The old lady.
Yeah. So it's all like it's all live video, or not live video, but recorded video, and it kind of looks pretty good. It was in some probably Unity scene, but then there's live video, and there was issues with focus issues with her hands and whatnot, but her face, and you could tell it was her, and it was good to see that character. But that's what they were trying to push, was a lot of that real video, and it kind of just wasn't great, unfortunately, because that's not really the best way, I think, to show VR off, and it was sort of cool, sort of gimmicky to me, and that's basically my experience.
How did
Yeah.
the people look in the video? Did you try the Divergent one, where everybody looked like a cardboard cutout standing in front of you, or did it actually look like there's somebody standing there?
No, it did not look like a cardboard cutout. I haven't seen what you're talking about. No, it looked pretty decent. I'm not sure how to describe it in technical terms, but no, it didn't look flat. They looked, they had depth to them. She was the only human. The rest were like, some of those demon. It wasn't actually the red hooved demon character. Like that didn't show up at all, which that's what I wanted. That thing's scary as hell. It was the old woman, with the black veil, and she's, some sort of demon trying to get into your body, basically, as you astral project. Maybe that's giving away things, and I'm sorry about that. But yeah, it was okay. I'd like to be able to download it and try it. I guess it's good that they're using that, but are they using that as a marketing ploy and at the expense of not doing VR right? That's kind of my question.
Well, it's weird.
I would say immediately yes. That they're treating it like a gimmick, because a lot of these companies are worried about brand awareness more than they are how they treat the actual subject of it. And at risk of sounding controversial, I think they're usurping VR in a way that really isn't tenable. Maybe for the individual developers that were signed on, that sort of got the cash injection to go ahead and do these sort of things, are benefiting from it, and we are in some sense too, because we have extra content at a I guess a premium looking level. But I don't know if they're treating it the way that we would necessarily.
But the only problem is we don't really get this content, though. It's like Pacific Rim. They did one too, and it's never released to the public.
I don't think the Game of Thrones one was either. Right.
The Game of Thrones one, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, you tried that?
No, I'm saying I want it.
Oh, it looked fantastic. Right, yeah.
By the way, that flat sort of cardboard effect, I think it's really unique to Kite and Lightning, who have also done, what was it?
Sense of
Peso. Yeah.
So you mean like the head that follows you in there that they got that looks... Yeah.
Exactly.
So
he does like Odin
that
or
looked
whatever.
good, right?
It looked good up close, blown up. But I think when they took the actual actors for Insurgent and they injected them in there, they did look a little flat when they were smaller and up close.
I haven't tried that. I bet that's similar to this, because now that I think about it, it has sort of that Sense of Peso look, but it's a full character like the size of one of you. She's not moving, and you're fixed in a chair. You can't move around. I mean, you can do position, but that's it. So they kind of just do a small bit of locomotion in the beginning as the chair goes through a door, but then you're stuck in that chair the rest of the experience. So I don't know. It got the people that tried it, that I was talking to in line, that drove many hours there. They really dug it, and they want to see more VR. So I guess it kind of worked out in the end.
Now, is that a local company?
I don't know. I have no idea.
I think experiences like that, even if they're subpar, I mean, people like us, we're getting the cream of the crop for the most part that's on the surface. Like, we can try whatever we want whenever we want. These people who haven't tried VR before, they're getting to something that might be, a little less than ideal. It's still a really interesting experience. Like, the first time I tried the DK1, it's way far off from what we have in the DK2 now, but even then, I was blown away.
Right. Yeah, me too. And Bob, I don't know if you were asking about this thing being local, only going to be shown there, but it will be traveling, and people will see it in other markets.
Oh, no, I meant if it was local, meaning that the studio is from your area. But if it's traveling, it
probably
won't
not.
Be.
What were you saying?
I think in the same sense, if we went back to the 1980s and showed them commercials of today, marketing material from today, they'd be like, wow, that's really great production value. That's really good. But it's still a commercial. You know what I mean?
Yep. So that kind of segue into the next topic of talking about VR and the state of it and how it's not quite ready for consumers yet. But, I certainly think, and others think, that this is a new medium that is going to stay, and it's going to disrupt, disrupt all other technology and be a new platform that, I think everybody's going to eventually adopt. But, right now I'm sure there's a lot of people that are wondering, is that really going to happen? Is it this thing from the 90s? And an article that I was reading about, looking at other platforms and technology in the past, such as mobile phones, smartphones, or even when the internet started, or even we used to be tethered to landline phones, that sort of situation. I mean, those sorts of things started off pretty rough, and it took a while to really adopt and get to the mainstream. So yeah, I wanted to throw that out there and see what you guys thought about, this pace at which VR is growing, or compared to maybe some of the older technologies, and even talk maybe about the technologies that you grew up with, that maybe you were early adopters to. What about you, VRBose?
I can't say that I've been an early adopter of anything but VR. And so I feel like we're in this really unique position. I don't know. I mean, I guess to address what you'd said before about, I guess, like, summarizing it, like, is this ready? Are people going to really adopt this? Is this going to, fade off into some distance as some sort of strange, bypass to something greater? I don't think so. I think that we're in for something really, really, really big. I think we all know that. I'm just preaching to the choir.
Yeah, and we're such... Go ahead, Brandon.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go anywhere no matter what. Even if it, doesn't, let's say it doesn't go mainstream, there's still already a group of people like this after, a couple of years of this relatively new VR out that's in it for the long haul already. So whatever happens, there's going to be people in the community that are going to be staying with it.
This is where the whole poisoning the well thing really doesn't resonate with me. And so they're going to poison the well. There's going to be this, a couple manufacturers that put out, I'm referencing this Brennan Arib, CEO of Oculus, saying, sort of warning smaller manufacturers to not get in just yet, because they might ruin it for the rest of us. I don't quite understand that. I think we're all ready for it, and we're all going to go to the best devices possible.
Yeah, at the same time, it's so new in that way. I don't think smaller manufacturers could even, have the means to do that. But I want to make a point about the early days and early adopters. We're all early adopters, obviously. And I'm really looking forward to the future when we can look back on this time and just say, wow, how cruddy in comparison to what it might be in the future. I mean, like we're talking about D-Box stuff and your 4D theaters, motion simulators and stuff like that. One day, all that will go away, and all you'll need is some helmet or some node you just stick to your head or something, and then you'll be in virtual reality. Like that's what that's what I want in the end.
Yeah, this
I
is all
think
going to
this-
be very laughable in the future.
Yeah.
I think this draws direct parallels to older technologies in the beginnings. When I first went on the internet, it was back in 1993, and I hardly knew anybody at all who'd ever even heard of the internet when I first had went on it. And you had to be pretty savvy to be able to get on, because you had to know about modems, and you had to have a VAX account or a Unix account to get on. So it wasn't easy, and it's sort of like that with VR right now. Well, maybe a few months ago before the Gear VR came out, but on the PC it's still a little bit difficult to set up. I mean, you have to be a little bit knowledgeable or be able to do the research to get on it. So we're still not at the point yet of just plug and play.
I remember my first PC, I think it was like 95, and seeing other people that had computers, and I don't know what they were doing with them, printing crap out, or a lot of them weren't going on the internet. They were doing their Word and they were doing schoolwork on them. But I got mine in '95. It was like a Pentium 166 or 133 megahertz, and it cost a lot of money. It was like $2,500. And it's not like I could do anything like that. I couldn't even play Panzer Dragon, some sort of 3D game back then. It was not running very well, and yet it was great. It really opened, up what you could access, like the Jolly Roger cookbook. That was fantastic back then. But yeah, 33.6 modem, dialing up sounds ridiculous, but it was the hotness, what you could then end up doing, text chats, grabbing some images here and there, and people adopted it. AOL made it pretty wide, mass adoption there, and I was always predicting that, mom and grandma was going to be on the internet all the time. When it was the late 90s, I was predicting that, 10 years or something. It's like, why you spend all your time on there? But no, you're going to be there too, mom. And that's what happened. All of our parents, have to have the internet now.
Everybody's connected. Like things like Facebook flooded. I mean, I can just think back to when I was a teenager growing up, starting to go on MSN Messenger and stuff like that constantly on the internet. Same thing. Parents are like, "What are you doing on your computer all day?" Like, and like you said, the future holds. Well, we're going to see the same thing with VR.
Yep, totally.
It's just so funny how scary it was to some people. I remember my mom, she just wouldn't let us do anything online unless she was like standing right there. Couldn't even play video games online for fear of being abducted. It's just hilarious.
Predator. It's going to get you.
I think what we weren't really able to anticipate beforehand, like in the early days of the internet, was Wikipedia. We all thought, like, at least as I remembered, it's like, okay, you can chat, you can email, you can grab images really, really slowly. But we didn't look at, like, a democratic encyclopedia as being something that would change the world. I really can't wait to see that for VR, because imagine, being able to capture every single thing that happened. If you look into a history book, all the mundane things that happened, you could actually experience that in the future. Everything you could experience it.
Right, just like in the early days, there wasn't much content on the web. You couldn't just find information about anything you wanted to, or the things that you were into. You had to really dig around and hopefully find a forum or a news group or something. So yeah, I mean, we don't have that kind of content in VR. We can't just go explore, experience whatever we want, or any kind of history thing. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I look forward to that day for sure.
What do you think would be the social implications and problems that might come from like overuse of virtual reality, if that is such a thing?
It's a good question.
I think we know it's going to become a problem for some people, just based on the fact that, like, people in China dying at internet cafes, staying up for 90 hours and, I don't know, not feeding the children or something. It's going to happen, but, I don't know. On a larger level, who knows?
Well, I know some people that sit in front of their laptop for literally 8 hours straight as is, just on things like Facebook. I can't imagine most of the people I know being on it longer than something like that. It's already pretty bad for doing that.
I don't know if Facebook is the right thing, though, to talk about. I mean, like, they're sort of sucked into this, strange, like, addictive scroll, and that's something important to mark. But I mean, like, think about all the content you could just get lost in for hours. For 40 hours on end, you could live in a different world.
I think something we need to see before that is more countries getting a more modern internet connection. Like, some of the amounts of data we're going to need to push through aren't just going to be able to be handled on most people's internet connections. A lot of people still have, like, DSL at 5 megabits per second. That's considered high speed.
Only in North America.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's true.
Korea's getting a 10 gigabit connection soon.
Crazy.
I think a lot of people are going to be spending more time than we can imagine in VR. You could spend every waking moment of your life in virtual reality, and when and if we get to the level of a Matrix type of VR, I don't see why maybe me as an old man wouldn't want to spend all my time in there, because I could be a young person again.
That's how I want to retire.
Yep, me too.
Exactly.
I'm so happy this is happening. By the time I'm an old man, I can just spend so much time in VR. It's going to be silly.
Instead of a pension, you get a lifetime of Matrix afterwards.
Well, why, like, literally, why wouldn't you want to? You could spend your time in a place that feels real, inside of a body that doesn't hurt and, feel like shit all the time. Like, you could do anything. You could go live in Harry Potter for the rest of your life.
I don't even need the Matrix. You could just, like, shove drugs on my body and make me numb and just put me enough in a headset to where I can hang out with people, check things out, still learn things, play games. And that's pretty rad, at least if you're at the point where you're kind of stuck in a wheelchair. I mean, it's going to be fantastic if we don't have to plug me in like the Matrix.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I think for mental illness, people that struggle with mental illness, we could be looking at some major problems with virtual reality. Disassociating from reality. People already struggle with that. If you're schizophrenic or borderline personality disorder, I can imagine if you're in a depression that you might seek out. I'm sure that people do this with the internet and forums and discussion with people, but it's just such more of a rich experience in virtuality. I mean, you might be able to really travel to some dark places and that not be very good for you if you struggle from things like that. So I think there's going to be a lot of terrible things that are going to come from this, just like the internet has terrible things that have come from it.
But I think, we shouldn't be all doom and gloom. There's going to be, the same sort of restorative benefits coming to it as well. Think about an algorithm that can look at all of your browsing history and determine, okay, this person is depressed. Maybe they would benefit from something like, I don't know, this guy put out diplopia for lazy eye in the most basic form that could help, change your vision. Well, think about the same thing, for depression. It's very possible.
Yeah, there's actually a guy here, Tom, who's on the show last week, who has a couple rooms called Heaven and Hell and Digital Life, and those things are really impacting. They're very almost spiritual experiences. They're so profound you can't experience anything like it, and here it is in VR, and you're beholding it, and it's a bit moving. It's this very interesting piece of artwork, and you could definitely take people into that realm and help brighten their day, just like the opposite. That could be something that would impact their depression. I think you could pull people out of depression, and that's going to be great, because a lot of people with depression don't want to leave their house or go out and get help, but they could, from the comfort of their home, put one of these headsets on and feel like they're having a better life. That's pretty positive.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the experiences that are going to come out are going to be social, so you won't really have a choice like to be social in these things, interact with other people, and I figure that could probably help as well.
Yeah, it'll be natural social communication, not, just a text thing or hitting emoticons in World of Warcraft or, animating your character to actually feel like you are your avatar. You don't have to learn the buttons. It feels like your hand. You're acting like a normal person.
But I think, I hate to say it, but in the same sense, you have your negative to that as well. I can, in several social platforms, you can mute and block almost anyone. And so we see the future as maybe being like this mutable, blockable, you only let things in that you want to see, echo chamber that could potentially take hold in a lot of people. So it's still shit. The world is still shit.
Yeah. Well, it's both, right?
It has to be. It has to be.
Yeah, I had some other thought, but I just lost it. Yeah, so that's some interesting stuff. Let's see what else is on my list. Does anybody else hear that? I hear music playing.
I hear anything
Maybe it's outside.
in the real
Let me
world.
check. No, it's coming from my headset or my headphones.
Maybe your iTunes is open.
Notes.
Yeah, do you have another program running?
I shouldn't,
Webpage.
it's actually my, I have nothing else running, and my Rift is my only monitor right now, just trying to get the best performance, and this is pretty bizarre. I think maybe, I haven't used this headset in a long time, I think it's a button on it.
Or it's picking it up like an antenna.
Well,
Is it wireless?
nope. So, it's just some background music, it's pretty rad. Let's see what else is, what can we talk about? How about demos and stuff? I've seen, I didn't get to try, but I've seen on some people trying Surge. Pretty interesting music visualization, experience that's like 5 minutes long or something. Anybody tried that?
Yes.
Yeah. One of
Oh,
my
yeah.
favorites of all time now.
That's a good one.
Oh, I'm going to try to fix this. So talk about that and talk about, if you can, Qubiterate. That's all I want to do.
Qubiterate,
Another
yes!
good one. That one it's intense. For anyone who hasn't played it, it's we talked about this on our podcast the other day. But it's a first-person shooter. All you're doing is lasering giant mammoth-sized cubes into smaller pieces, and they just keep coming, trying to crush you. They'll sneak up behind you and everything. It's a lot of fun, and the music just makes it that much more intense. It's
The
great.
music makes it an epic journey.
Yeah, it's hard.
Are the
Yeah, I kept
cubes
dying.
reactive to the music? Or? I haven't played it yet.
No, they just kind of gravitate towards you. Some of them are mammoths. You'll like turn around, they'll be right behind you. They're just generic cubes. They blow up into more cubes, smaller and smaller until they're gone.
Yeah, it's a pretty basic game. You're in this flat kind of scenery with mountains in the distance, and they don't stop coming until you're dead.
Yeah, the big blocks turn into smaller sub-blocks that then turn into even smaller blocks, and so you're trying to, which actually turn into mushrooms for some reason. You're just trying to...
Because you're high on mushrooms, yeah.
And the mushrooms make you stronger. You get more health.
Ridiculous.
How about
Well,
Surge?
Very fun.
Surge is one of those experiences, that you try, and for the whole experience, your mouth is wide open. For me, at least, that's how it went.
Yeah.
From the start, when you get the pinging noise, through the techno music, the aurora above you, the giants, it's such a fantastic experience.
And the ground starts like breaking apart and turning into legs and walking and falling apart with each step and then rebuilding itself. It's just so cool.
It's definitely going to become one of those demos that I show off to people. When you show them off,
Right.
it's I either put them in the cinema because that's like the easiest, quietest way to introduce someone to VR spaces, and then put them in something like that. It's just going to blow their minds completely because that's too cool.
Yeah. Need more
That was really
experiences
well
like
done.
that. Another one I
Absolutely.
tried today was Project Pipe, new horror game. That one was pretty good. It scared me a couple times.
Project what?
I know you played. Is it Project Pipe? Nick, is that what it's called? Project Pipe?
Yeah, Project Pipe. It was built on the Unreal Engine. The developer, it was his first project. He played it down quite a bit in the description. I wasn't expecting a lot, but it was really well done.
Mm-hmm. Good graphics.
Oh,
It ran
I need
really
to point
well.
out, Cryosphere, you're twerking. Maybe you're hearing that music that I was hearing. Thanks, dude. Sorry, Brennan.
What was I saying? Yeah, it ran really well. Maybe that's just because I reformatted my computer and things are running better, but this is good looking. It wasn't, none of these experiences are long enough. I need a good horror game that I can sit in for a while. Like Dreadhalls, I haven't gotten to play that on Gear VR yet. I want to try that.
I could recommend, it's not finished. There's just a demo of it. It's Crystal Rift. Anybody tried that?
I have tried
to try that yet.
Crystal If. It's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I tried the demo.
Apparently, I think in a couple weeks it's going to have early access on Steam. I'm not sure if you had to be a backer or if you can purchase it on Steam. I didn't look for enough into it, but it's a very closed-in space, and almost like you're in a small tunnel kind of things, tunnel environment, but it's not a tunnel. It's just kind of the way that your perspective and scale is. And how would you describe it? It's not puzzle-based.
It's like a dungeon crawler.
It looks like has a Might and Magic vibe.
I think that's close. And it has the
it has
puzzle
that
aspect.
look and feel.
Yes.
The actual gameplay is, it's basically tiles, so you're moving, any direction, front, back, left, and right, not diagonal, and you can turn and look and go forward by looking. But you can actually just you can go backward just by hitting the down arrow, and you'll go back one tile, or you can rotate all the way around and just go forward that direction. And so as you go, there's triggers, like it feels a little scary, and you can fall off the edges, so you don't want to do that. You want to stay to the path. But everything's really dark. You can only see right around you, basically. And it's awesome. I think when that's an actual fleshed out game, that's going to be a fun one. Here's some typing. I think it's Cryosphere. Is that you back there?
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
Typing into the chat room, and when I hit V, it turns the voice
Oh yeah,
on.
totally does.
Yeah, you guys changed it to toggle.
Will do.
No, or yeah, basically if you type in the console window, it still activates when you type the letter V and stuff like that. Some people have a toggle where it's on always, and then if you hit V, it's on, or it's off always, that sort of thing.
I think this is like the moral equivalent of the early days internet, of having to download anything from Napster. Like, it just took forever, and you just had to deal with it. And right now we're trying to figure out UIs and all these really basic things that eventually we're just going to take for granted.
Yeah, some people that come in are like viruses,
I got an idea. Let me talk.
Yeah.
I remember having to download
the mute
pictures
buttons weren't
overnight.
working, unfortunately. The mute worked at first on that person, and then some reason something happened. Sorry, Bob.
I was just saying that, like, I remember having to wait overnight to download just a picture.
Whoa.
Wow.
2,400 baud.
That's blowing my mind. I never realized. I guess it was all just text-based internet, like you're saying Unix systems, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you could download pictures. The videos, no way. There weren't yet. But pictures you could download, but usually you'd start it at nighttime and it'd be done in the morning.
Yeah, I was part of
Now they load in half a second.
Yeah.
Or not even.
And then you have things like Grand Theft Auto that are ridiculous. I remember being on my local BBS. I didn't chat much, and I only tried to download a couple things, but that was pretty slow, and it kind of makes me feel that way of kind of like early systems that were, hard to find and hard to get things from, and definitely hard interfaces, cryptic commands.
What is the size of GTA 5? I'm just curious.
50 gigs.
60.
I think it's like
60
I got a
gigs?
story about that.
Okay.
It's crazy. So I have a 120 gigabyte SSD, and my Windows is taking up about 20 gigs. And so I'm like, okay, there's enough, and there'll be some left over. That's what I need. I got rid of everything. All the games moved to the other hard drive, and all the software, Photoshop, and all that good stuff. I said, I'm ready for Grand Theft Auto. I do all my work from a MacBook Pro anyway, so I could totally do this here. It's not going to be a problem. So I do that, but unfortunately, last night when it dropped, it had to download not only a patch, but it had to pre-allocate space, and so it actually turns out to be you need 90 plus gigabytes in order to actually have it extracted and put the full install, and I was basically broken. My soul was broken.
That's brutal.
So I
just delete OS X. Just delete your operating system. Done. Easy.
Oh, that's on my MacBook.
No problem.
This was on my PC though.
Well, then
I
you just
freed
delete
up
Windows.
everything.
Jesus.
Yeah, that was on wind blows. So what happened? I actually got it working, and it was nuts. There was a ton of posts on this problem. People were not expecting this. The recommended requirements are 60 gigs, and so many people were having this issue, and it was really sad. And it starts pre-allocating. It took all my I have 16 megabytes left on the hard drive. It was crazy like that, and I was just started deleting everything else I could, and it just was not working. And I was really screwed until I found a program. It's a Steam Mover. I think it's called Steam Mover. And the guy that was showing, it was like last week, he was showing me how you could. So I needed to pre-download my content. 60 gigabyte to download is crazy, and I'm on like a 10 megabit at best right now, LTE wireless connection. On unlimited though, so I'm good to go. So I did not want to have to deal with downloading this shit again. I already did it for days prior. Anyway, you can move your pre-allocated stuff easily, but unfortunately the pre-cache or whatever did not. It started extracting, so you had crap here, you had crap over there. Who knows what's going on? Part of it was in downloading folder because there was a patch coming through. So there's not any real instructions on that. I just basically used this thing to move a whole bunch of crap. It didn't work the first time. Then I moved a bunch more and the same crap. And what this program does is it moves your stuff to another hard drive and creates symbolic links to it. And so that was enough for Steam to actually understand that everything's still there and kept downloading more and got it all together. And then the game ran. And I was just amazed after 3 hours of work trying to figure this shit out.
Anything for GTA on solid state.
PC world problems.
It's true. Rubik, our good friend Rubik, is screwed right now. You have to have your Rockstar account working, and the Steam binds to that, and your key binds to that, blah, blah, blah. So he forgot his password, and then after so many tries, it locks you out. And so he was completely locked out. The forget password thing was locked out. He couldn't post in the forums because the new account he attached this to was under a month old, so they wouldn't let him post. He submitted a support ticket a day and a half ago. Still nothing. It's a shame.
Oh, that is really a shame.
I've actually read a bunch of people are having that problem right now.
Yeah, they are. I posted in the forums for him, and even another place where somebody got attention that got it fixed, and then it was like, what's going on? It's like randomly people are getting their password situation resolved.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Right on. I think that's basically about it. Yeah, let's go around and have you guys plug stuff, and then I'll wrap things up. How about you, VRBose? Let's start on my right side.
Always drop by Road to VR for the hottest news. No, I'm not going to say it like that. Read the stuff on Road to VR. We're about to start like an events area. It's going to be headed by our good friend Deep Rifter, who's about all the social VR platforms. So make sure to drop by and look at all the dates, and we'll have everything good for you.
Excellent. What about you, Brandon?
So yeah, Nick and I, PureVR is this real life podcast. Usually try to release every week on Thursdays. You get it most iTunes, Stitcher, popular podcast services. Yeah, we're recording one tomorrow even. Tried to get some good guests on there. Sometimes it's just me and Nick just shooting the shit, talking about latest news, and then we talk about their favorite apps of the week and sometimes some odd apps that we find. Anything else you want to say, Nick?
Yeah, so this week we've actually got guys from Converge. We got Hayden here, who's behind me, and also Sean's going to be coming on the podcast to join us and talk about the latest stuff in VR. So like Brandon said, you can catch us on iTunes and Stitcher. Also, we're on Twitter at pure_VR.
Right on. I have to thank you guys for having me on the show, I don't know, a couple months ago. It was a great time. You guys got a little professional gig going on there. You guys run it pretty well.
Thank you very much. It was awesome. It's really good to have you on the show there.
Yeah. I also think Bob was on the show too.
Yep.
We were actually on the Left-Handed VR podcast before Bob joined us.
That was a good time.
That was
a lot of
such
fun.
a fun time. I really enjoyed that.
So yeah, Bob,
Our shows
tell
are
us
always
about.
fun.
Tell us about.
Yep, so I'm the host of the Left-Handed VR podcast. We're on all the major podcasting platforms. Just posted a new one today. Well, it's a few weeks old. I was on vacation last week, so it's been a little while. But so the last one that just dropped today is with our first guest that we aren't buddies with, but he's local. Benjamin Taylor does Alien Makeout Simulator. So you can go check that out. And yeah, we're going to be recording more often soon. And also check out vrcasters.com. We're all on there, all our podcasts. And you can come check us out at the SVVR Expo. I think there's going to be representation from all the podcasts.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for it.
I saw Reverend has what do we call these things that the newscasters have around their microphone, that little block?
Oh yeah, I forget what those are called.
Anyways, he's got a VR Casters one, and he'll be mobile going around the expo, and I'm gonna try to stream as much as I can in here. I think that'll be a good time to try to connect SVVR to the virtual space as much as we can.
Mike Flags.
Mike Flags.
That's right, Mike Flags.
Like a pro.
All
right.
Yeah, maybe if we have enough bandwidth, we can do some video streaming too.
Brilliant.
Video is the future. All right, guys. Thanks a lot. I want to thank everybody here, my guests, the virtual audience, also Scott Fletcher for his voice work during the opening, Fruitius for my avatar. He's a Sightline developer, and my team, Kenny, behind me here shooting some video, Tom23. He's the big black angel. Freaking awesome. The VR chat devs and anyone else that I'm just forgetting. So don't forget to go to guntersuniverse.com. It's a really good way to find my Twitter, information about the subreddit, and to sign up for the newsletter. And post a couple things in the subreddit, like get that started a little more. And definitely join us here every week on set. I'll have a good time, as you've seen. And during Sundays, Reverend Kyle does a stream like Bruce used to do, showing us cool new demos. So I'm going to try to stream that in here as well and keep the party going. And then we jump into the meetup, the VR chat meetup that starts right after the show, after Rev's show. And have a lot of fun. There's usually another 30 people or so that show up to that. And we see some of the new highlights, some of the new rooms of the week that a lot of the cool members here that have been working on things in VR chat. And I think that's it. So yeah, thanks everybody, and I think it's time for me to go give my life over to my new GTA overlord. Good night. All right. Did it. It's a show. That's a wrap.